Hi, welcome back to Hills in Business. Today you are joining me on my trip to Helsinki for work. I'll be there for 4 days and I am currently at Gatwick Airport now. I drove myself. It is about 8:30 in the morning. Let's go. Whilst you're watching me make my way through the terminal, I thought I would explain a bit more about me and why I travel so much. So I work for a medical tech company and my territory is Europe, Middle East, India and Africa. However, over the last few months, I have been, as well as my normal role, which I'll describe later on, I've been working on a really exciting project for myself and the company. It is part of a new initiative trying to steer the company into the future. My role is to come up with a strategic approach for commercialization, sales and marketing, and this has essentially meant that over the last few months I've been working in the States for at least 1 week per month-ish. For the last couple of design sprints on this project, I've been going over to the States, but on this particular trip, as you can see, and as I've mentioned, I'm off to Helsinki because the team for the US and Canada have graced us with their presence in Europe this time. Made it through security and just waiting in the terminal now for my gate to be called. It was absolutely freezing outside, so I'm glad I brought my thick jacket with me. And yeah, Helsinki is going to be equally as cold. I'm not looking forward to it. I've been very fortunate this year in that everywhere I've been going has genuinely been warm and definitely warmer than England. But unfortunately, I've not lucked out this time. I'll be going to a cold Helsinki and I do not fare well in the cold at all. I believe this is about my 4th trip to Helsinki. It's always been a good trip. However, as I mentioned, it's just the cold that always gets me, and I seem to always go to Helsinki during the winter time. I've never been there in the summer, so I'm not really sure what their summers are like. And I was going to say something, I've forgotten. I'm trying to think now. Oh yeah, I'm flying to Helsinki on Norwegian. I've flown with Norwegian on short haul a few times. I've always liked their service, and now, as you know, I've done a lot of long haul with Norwegian as well. While we take off, as clearly you are in suspense, I'll give you a brief description of my normal role. I look after a sales and a consultancy team that covers the EMEA region. These are 2 teams that I have grown over the last 2.5 years. I'm still overseeing these teams, but have a huge focus on this new business initiative. This trip to Helsinki is the final design phase before a 6-hour presentation to the business leaders. As expected, the internet hasn't been working during the flight. I'm about an hour and a half into the flight now. It's no biggie though. I've got some work that doesn't actually require any internet, so I've been trying to get on with that. I have had someone snoring all the way so far, and it's been quite distracting. Normally I have got my headphones with me, so when I stop working I'll put them on in a minute, but I don't have the ability at the moment to be writing a report and listening to music, which would be probably better than the snoring maybe, so I might need to try. Whenever I come to Helsinki airport, it always feels like I'm walking for miles and miles before I get to immigration control. And then on this particular trip, lo and behold, a massive queue when I got to passport control. I never quite understand why the automated passport machines are not working. I am now in the taxi to my hotel. I'm staying at a hotel called Klaus K. I've not personally stayed there before, but I know other colleagues that have stayed there and have recommended it. So We will see. Welcome to Helsinki. This is pretty much what I remember of Helsinki when I was here earlier this year, and how there's very little daylight here, and that could just be the times of the year that I'm here. But when I was here last time, there wasn't very much daylight. It just seems that it was mainly dark most of the time, probably why I personally didn't like it that much. It's nice to experience something different. As you all know, for those of you that watch my videos will know that I do love travelling, but Helsinki is not quite the place for me, unfortunately. So that took me about 30 minutes from the airport to get to the hotel, and it is right in the heart of Helsinki. So the last time I stayed here I wasn't in the city centre, so this looks a lot better. The room I had booked was €195 per night, and it was a single room, which I don't really like, but I managed to negotiate an upgrade to a double-sized room for an extra €15 per night, which wasn't too bad. 200 might seem a lot for a room in Helsinki, but that's pretty much the going rate in the area. Well, I had breakfast this morning. I picked up something from Gatwick Airport, but it was a 2.5-hour flight, and then you go 2 hours in forward. So it's about 5 p.m. here, but I'm absolutely starving because I've missed lunch. Therefore, I am now on the hunt for my lunch. Finally eaten. So I found a Vietnamese place. Those of you that know me know that I love my Asian food, whether it's Korean, Vietnamese, Chinese, dim sum, Japanese, and no matter where I am in the world, I will always try and find all the good Asian restaurants. This particular place was called Nom Vietnamese. It was about an 8-minute walk from the hotel, and it was really, really good. I had a Vietnamese coffee, and I can't remember what it was called, but these rice noodles with pork and salad, and it was just really, really tasty. And it's not just because I was hungry, it was genuinely tasty. So yesterday I booked my trip to Vietnam in, I think, just under 2 months until I go, and no doubt that affected what I was fancying today, because yesterday I was researching food that definitely inspired me for today's lunch, late lunch, early dinner, whatever it is. It was a really cheap meal as well, €13.80 for the main meal, and I think about €3 for the coffee, and super delicious, so can't complain about that. And in case it's not obvious, it is freezing. It is cold. I thought I would share this with you. Whenever I'm in a hotel, I always like the TV on, whether it's playing music or playing a program in the background. I just prefer having some form of background noise. And as I was scrolling through the options on the TV in this hotel, I thought this was quite funny. So the options here are, these are in the list of what you can watch and listen to, and they have a category called ass shaking R&B and dance. And yeah, interesting category of music. I was going to play it just to see what constitutes as ass shaking R&B and dance. However, I have to pay €6, so no, I won't be checking that one out. It is now Friday in Helsinki and I am finally checking out for the week. I have a few meetings to do today and then I'll be getting my flight back home to London at 5 p.m. this evening. My trip to Finland is almost coming to the end. I've finished my meetings for the day and now at the airport. It is 3 p.m. and I'm about to start drop my bag off first, make my way through security and finally get home. So I should get home, I should land in Gatwick around 6 p.m. today, and yes, nice to get home at not too late a time on a Friday and enjoy my weekend back home. Helsinki was not, I preferred Helsinki on this particular trip. One, it wasn't as cold as when I was here in January, and there wasn't snow and it wasn't as cold, but there was a lot of rain, so that wasn't great. But there was a lot more daylight, which I prefer, and that was the one thing that got me down when I came here earlier this year. And where we were staying was in the centre of town, and that was quite nice and looked very Christmassy. So I'm feeling very much in the Christmassy mood now after being in Helsinki these last few days. You would imagine with the amount of times that I now do this that I would be actually pretty good at putting a bag tag on, but I am terrible for some reason. When I come to the airport before security, if there's ever these plastic bags available, I always make sure to grab a spare just in case I run out or they break or I need one. Through security and passport control, it's a bit confusing in Helsinki. So when you get through security, and that was super quick, it was empty, and then you go into the main terminal where the gates are. But then if you're travelling outside of Schengen, you have to go then through passport control, which then takes you into this section here, which is like the other side of the terminal. And what I'm going to show you here is where I was in the huge queue for passport control on Monday. The automated machines are open, but it looks like there's still quite a large queue, but nowhere near as bad as when I was here, because when I was here on Monday, it was backed up to the Starbucks, but I'll share it with you now. So this is the other strange bit. So as you come off the plane, where you go through passport control is also where the gates are for people arriving. So you've got the people coming out from the plane here and then people going into the terminal. And that's the queue, on Monday was backed up all the way here, so you can imagine the chaos it created. Well, I was wondering what I was going to have for lunch today, and I stumbled upon this Japanese ramen place in the airport, so that was the obvious choice. made it nearly at my gate now. One thing that I always remember about Helsinki airport is the amount of walking it takes to get to your gate. Sometimes it feels like you're walking forever. Arrived back in Gatwick. I would say that flight went super quick because I literally slept all of the way. I woke up when we had actually touched down in Gatwick, so that went super quick. Obviously was very tired. I don't often sleep all flights, but it was a short haul. It was 2.5 hours. That was some good sleeping. And I am now just waiting for my bag, and then I'll go to my car, and hopefully it will take about an hour to get home. It was a bit strange actually when I had a seat in the first row, so I was off the plane pretty much first, and Gatwick was super empty, so it was a bit strange. And you'll see as I was recording that there was barely anyone around me as I was making my way to passport control. So I'm not used to being in quite an deserted Gatwick, which is a bit strange. I'm used to lots of people being around. Got through passport control really quick, and hopefully my bag will be here shortly. Getting a much needed cappuccino to keep me awake on the drive home. Well, I'm really relieved to have made it to my car. I don't know if any of you experienced that, but when you've had a long day and you've been travelling, it's just really good when you know that you're finally almost there. So I have about an hour, assuming no traffic, which is good, nearly there. And I had a good 2-hour nap, so I'm feeling pretty good, and I've got my coffee, so no complaints from me. As a reminder, this isn't a travel review from Helsinki. Most of my videos are usually for work, so it's usually me going to the airport, getting on a plane, getting to the hotel, and then doing it all in reverse again. But often these places I do go back to, and I do eat. I do need to eat, so if you do have any recommendations of where to eat in the evenings, please do let me know. And for those of you that are watching and haven't subscribed, please do hit that like button, and thank you for watching Hills and Business.